Let's take another quick look at the budget 454 build. So I had previously steam cleaned the block, ran the dingle balls through it. I put a little crosshatch on it, help seat the new rings. There is a little, I don't really feel it here, I see it more than I feel it. There is a little ridge. This was a running engine that I had seen a lot of use. It was previously rebuilt at 30 over, but it had been run. The cam bearings look fine to me. I don't know why there's a little ding out of that one. They're worn. I'm not saying they're not worn, but I can tell you for a budget build, they're getting run again. I'm not going to mess with it. The forged crank I cleaned up, and the forged crank appears to measure out at 20 thousandths under on the mains and the rods. So if that's the case, when it polishes up, then I'll get some new main and rod bearings. But I am going to reuse these cam bearings. I'm going to clean the deck. I know it's you know, internet ooh and ah, and you shouldn't use it, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to use a roll-lock pad. I do it all the time. If you do this, first of all, if you're building a quality engine, you're putting money into it, have a shop deck it and clean it up properly. If you're doing a cheap ass backyard thing like I'm doing with this particular engine, I'm gonna roll lock it. I do it all the time. If you use the roll lock pads, you use the red one. The red one is less aggressive than like a brown or a tan pad. So use the red pad if you're going to clean up the deck or the head or whatever with your roll lock pad. And then secondly, you can see this machining from the factory. Okay, and these are actually, I don't want to say grooves like a record, but what I'm saying is, if you're going to use a roll-lock pad and clean up the deck, the purpose is to clean the deck. The purpose is to knock off any surface rust, any scaling, any remaining gasket stuff that may be stuck around a port. It's just to clean up the surface. We're not trying to take these grooves out. We're not trying to sit there with a roll-lock pad and remove metal until the whole thing is bright and shiny. When you start to clean it up, you'll notice dark areas, you'll notice discoloration in areas on the block. If you sit there with a roll-lock pad until everything is shiny, that's when you've screwed up your surface. That's when you've made it uneven and you're going to have sealing issues. That's not the purpose. The purpose is clean up the scaling, clean up the surface rust, give it a quick pass to make sure there's nothing on it, and be happy. Don't worry about dark spots. Don't worry about discoloration. Don't worry about sitting there and digging into one area to try to get a dark spot or something off of it, because you're going to screw up your surface. So if you know how to use them properly, I've been doing this for 30 years with a roll-lock pad, and I've never had a head sealing issue to the block. So anyhow, so from there where I went was I set up my gauge. I went 4.280 for your 4 1/4 on a factory 454, and I know this block was 30 over. So I'll tell you my go no go hard number is 3 thousandths of taper. I like to be 2 thousandths or less when I'm doing a cheap job like this. I like to be 2 thousandths or less of taper from top to bottom. 3 is a definite go to the machine shop and bore it out. 1.5 thousandths of taper, 2 thousandths I can kind of live with in a cheap build, which is what this is. However, this one had previously been done 30. Okay, and I set this at 4.280. So here at the top of the bore, that's 4.280, and I'm it's only half a thousandth over. Then I'm going to go down to the middle of my bore. Half a thousandth. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom of my bore. Not even half a thousandth. I've checked all of these, and they are all under 1 thousandths taper top to bottom. That's good in my book. I'm happy with that. I actually thought, you know, I might run into a thou and a half, but less than a thousandth on all the bores top to bottom tells me whoever built this at 30 over, they did a good job. One of my trains of thought, which is, I don't know, you professional guys can tell me if I'm wrong or right, but one of my trains of thought on a cheap build like this is I put in cheap cast rings, and my hope is that on something where you're not taking the block to a machine shop, on something where you're not spending the money, ensuring you have a torque plate, honed block, and good sealing issues. And my thought is if you go with a cheaper cast ring, it will wear and conform more to an old bore, and could lead to a better sealing than if you go with a good quality ring on an old bore, and the ring, a good molly face ring, may not want to wear and conform to the bore the way that I think a cast ring would. That's just a guess. You know, that's not set in stone. Somebody correct me in the comments, but that's my thought on this. So I looked up, I can get for $306 right now on eBay. I can get 10.5 to 1 high protected pistons with rings included for $306. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to order the pistons and rings right now. I'm going to order the rod bearings because those are needed for balance. And then I'm going to take the rotating assembly, crank rods and pistons down, and have that balanced. I am going to put that effort into it. I'm just not taking this block in and putting any money into the block. Also, I do think I'm going to upgrade to a ARP rod bolt, just a stock 3/8 in the factory truck rods, but it is going to get an ARP rod bolt. So that's where I'm at. I'll keep you in the loop when I get the rotating assembly back. It's probably going to be a month or so. Thank you.